Midnight shadows stretched across the cobbled streets of a medieval town. In the narrow back alleys, cloaked figures whispered, coins changed hands, and bundles of goods slipped from one grip to another. This was the black market unseen in chronicles, but vital to survival. Here, salt could be worth a man's life, and a single page of parchment might be more dangerous than a sword. Why did such markets exist in the first place? Medieval trade was smothered by strict guild rules, endless taxes, and religious bans. Salt, wine, even wool became luxuries for ordinary people. The church outlawed certain books and medicines entirely. When survival clashed with authority, people turned to the shadows. These weren't just criminals, they were farmers, monks, merchants, even mothers, all finding ways to get what they needed when the law failed them. Salt was the lifeblood of the black market. Without it, meat rotted, cheese spoiled, and trade collapsed. Kings called it white gold and taxed it so heavily that smuggling exploded. At night, peasants trudged through forests with sacks of salt on their backs, dodging patrols for the sake of survival. It sounds absurd now, but in the Middle Ages, carrying too much salt could mean execution. A pinch on your stew could literally cost you your head, but salt was only the beginning. Hidden stalls offered wine brewed outside guild approval, exotic spices slipped past customs, and weapons banned by treaties. The most dangerous items? Books. Hand-copied manuscripts carried forbidden ideas, heretical, rebellious, or just inconvenient to those in power. Black markets weren't only about food or tools, they were about freedom, to read, to heal, to taste, to fight. So who ran these markets? Not kings or nobles, but an unlikely alliance. Farmers slipped extra grain past the guild. Monks traded potions made in monastery gardens. Beggars acted as lookouts, rewarded with bread or copper. And merchants? Many lived double lives, respectable traders by day, smugglers by night. Together, they created an underground web the authorities could never fully destroy. Every time the hammer fell, the market simply shifted deeper into the shadows. Punishment for dealing on the black market could be brutal. Confiscation of goods was the mildest outcome. More often, smugglers faced whippings, branding, or prison. In some towns, repeat offenders were hanged in the marketplace as a warning. Imagine seeing a man's body swinging above the same square where, the night before, he had sold you salt. Fear was constant, but so was desperation. For many, the risk of punishment was still worth the chance to eat. Black markets weren't always tucked away in shadows. Some towns developed entire hidden fairs, temporary markets in forests, caves, or abandoned ruins. For a single night, hundreds gathered to trade what couldn't be sold openly. Salt, wool, even stolen weapons passed hand to hand under torchlight. By dawn, everything was gone, leaving only trampled grass and smoke in the air. These markets became legends, whispered about by villagers and cursed by officials who never caught them in time. Ports were another hotspot. Ships arrived with goods that should have gone straight to customs, but sailors and dock workers knew better. A crate of spices could vanish before sunrise, sold in back alleys while guards looked the other way. Some captains even paid officials to ignore missing cargo. Smuggling wasn't just survival, it was big business. For every noble or king losing revenue, there were dockside families who ate because of the trade. Of course, not everyone who joined these markets survived unscathed. Stories spread of guards planting spies among traders. A friendly buyer might suddenly reveal the sheriff's badge beneath his cloak. Betrayal was common, sometimes even neighbours informed on each other. But the black market always adapted. Passwords, hand signs, and coded messages in church sermons became ways to identify who could be trusted. It was a dangerous game of cat and mouse that never truly ended. Ironically, black markets sometimes kept whole towns alive. During sieges, when official supplies ran out, smugglers sneaked through hidden tunnels or across rivers at night, bringing food and weapons. Authorities condemned them, but everyone knew the truth. Without the shadow trade, entire communities might have starved. It was this strange duality, illegal yet essential, that made black markets impossible to eradicate. They were both a crime and a lifeline, depending on which side of the table you stood. Some rulers secretly tolerated black markets. A starving town was dangerous, and uprisings cost more than smuggled salt. So long as the trade stayed quiet, officials often looked away or even took their own cut. Corruption blurred the line between outlaw and lawman. A guard might chase smugglers by day, then buy contraband wine from them at night. For common people, it was proof that power wasn't about justice, but about who controlled the flow of goods. For the church, black markets were even more dangerous. It wasn't just about lost money, it was about lost control. Forbidden manuscripts spread quietly through monasteries and taverns, carrying ideas that challenged authority. A single handwritten page could spark questions no priest wanted to answer. That's why inquisitors hunted them relentlessly. Yet the more they burned, the more people wanted to read. Knowledge moved like fire through dry grass, and black markets were the wind that kept it alive. Weapons were another hot commodity. Peasants barred from carrying swords found ways to buy them anyway. Crossbows, banned by the church in 1139, circulated in secret for centuries afterward. A single hidden blade could change the balance of power in a village feud. To authorities, this was terrifying. But to ordinary people, it was protection. The black market didn't just supply food, it supplied the means to resist, to defend, or sometimes to rebel. Even children played a role. Ragged boys were hired to whistle if guards approached, slipping through alleys faster than grown men ever could. Girls carried small pouches under their skirts, unnoticed by patrols. Entire families became part of the underground economy, each member with a task. For many, it wasn't a crime. It was simply life. In towns where hunger lingered, children growing up with secret jobs wasn't strange. It was survival training from the moment they could walk. And yet, for all the secrecy, the black market left its fingerprints on history. Many beloved traditions like smoked meats, spiced wines, or herbal remedies survived only because they thrived in the shadows. What was once contraband later became culture. The underground trade carried not just goods, but ideas, flavors, and innovations that reshaped Europe. Strange to think, the meals we eat, the medicines we trust, even the books we read, may owe their survival to criminals of the Middle Ages. Authorities never fully defeated the black market because they needed it too. When official supplies failed, they quietly turned to the very smugglers they condemned. It was hypocrisy on display, public punishments in the square, private purchases in the alley. Everyone knew it, but no one dared say it aloud. In this strange balance, shadow trade became as permanent as the stone walls of the cities themselves, illegal in name, essential in practice. Over centuries, the black market shaped medieval society in ways few noticed at the time. It weakened monopolies, spread forbidden knowledge, and forced authorities to adapt. It showed that no system of control was perfect, that people would always find cracks in the walls built around them. In its own quiet way, it gave voice to the powerless. For every king who tried to lock the gates, there was a hidden door opening in the night. So the next time we picture the Middle Ages, we shouldn't imagine only knights, castles, and kings. In the shadows of those same castles, another world thrived. A secret economy of farmers, monks, beggars, merchants, and dreamers. They broke the rules not out of greed, but because survival demanded it. The medieval black market was never just crime. It was resistance. It was survival. And in many ways, it was the heartbeat of an age that tried so hard to silence it.